let's start by bringing our case onto our lap, which we've already done. So we'll begin with taking out the bell in the lower joint, which is the joint with only one cork on it, so it's this one here. Then we'll twist the bell on the cork of the lower joint. Then we'll pick the upper joint and twist it on the lower joint and make sure the bridge keys here are lined up with one another. Then we'll set that on our lap, put the case to the side. Then we'll pick up the barrel and the mouthpiece and twist them together. And normally during all this you'd be soaking the reed in your mouth.
Okay.
But I have to talk to you, so we're not going to do that today. So then we'll put the ligature on the mouthpiece first, and the screws of the ligature will always be facing the right, so that's something we'll have to keep in mind. And after that, we'll place the reed between the ligature and the mouthpiece. And we only want to see a little bit of black at the tip of the reed, so we'll adjust that once we get to that point. Okay, so we're going to grab this joint here. This is the lower joint with only the one cork at the bottom. So we'll grab that and we'll grab the bell, which is the bottom part. We're just going to go ahead and screw that on. Okay.
I feel like I'm gonna break something.
Yeah. Yeah, you're gonna want to make sure you grab by the black part of the clarinet.
Okay.
Okay, looks good.
Okay.
So now, grab that in your left hand, and we'll take the upper joint, which is this joint here, a little bit shorter. It has two corks on it. And we're gonna screw that onto the lower joint. And like I said earlier, make sure the bridge keys are lined up with one another. So.
Okay.
Nice. Okay. Let's see. Yep, you got it lined up?
Yes.
Looks good. So now we're just gonna put the case on the ground really quick and set the clarinet on our lap. So make sure you have good balance there so it doesn't end in disaster. Now we're just gonna grab the barrel, this piece right here, and just the mouthpiece. Don't worry about the ligature quite yet. And we're going to twist the mouthpiece onto the smaller side of the barrel. Okay, and again we'd be wetting the reed in the reed in our mouth. But we're not going to do that today, so it should look like that.
Okay.
Good. Looks good. So now we're going to grab the ligature. The ligature always goes on before the reed. So just go ahead and slide that on, just like that. Looks good. Okay, now go ahead and take your reed out of the case. Hopefully it's still intact. Okay, so now the fat part of the reed is gonna be facing you like that, and we're just gonna slide that underneath the ligature like this. And you should see just a little bit of black on the top. Okay, looks good. So now just bring the ligature back down a little bit once that's lined up.
I got this.
Okay, yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah, perfectly fine. Okay, so then once you have that adjusted and you see a little bit of the black, make sure you tighten the screws up nice and good so the reed stays in place. Okay. The next step is just putting the barrel on the mouthpiece, putting the barrel on the upper joint. So you're going to put that on. You're going to want to make sure that the reed is lined up with the register key right here, which is this long key. Good. So, oops, that's fine. So let's just hold our instrument up and look at it and make sure everything's lined up. Looks good, the reed is good, screws are tightened. Okay, cool. So now we're gonna just make sure everything is good to go. Yeah, so next time when you put the instrument together, just remember to grab by the black part of the clarinet and not so much the keys so you don't wreck anything there, which you didn't, but that's always a possibility. So, okay, we're gonna move on to the posture of when you're playing the clarinet. So when you're setting the posture, A couple things you're going to want to consider are having your back off the chair and your feet flat on the floor, as though there's wet paint on the back of the chair. And you're going to want to keep your head up, but also relaxed. So it shouldn't be stiff like a soldier, but just kind of straight as though maybe you're a puppet or something. So that's something you want to consider, and make sure that you don't slouch your back or any of your other joints as well. So I'm just going to model this for you, and I want you to copy what I do. So feet flat on the floor, back off the chair, head up, just like that. Okay? Just bring the instrument to your mouth a little bit then. Don't worry about the hand position, that comes next. So, okay? That looks good. So the one thing you're going to want to do is just not bring your neck forward. Don't lean forward like that at all. Just make sure that you're straight up. So that's really the only feedback I have for you at this point. So, okay, now we're going to move on to the hand position. So the left hand position for playing the clarinet should form the letter C, like that. And the left thumb should be slightly above the thumb hole. And the three inner fingers, so your index, middle, and ring, should be covering these holes right here, called the tone holes. And that should be on both hands. So remember the C, and covering those inner holes with the inner fingers. Okay?
Yes.
So let's see your position there. That looks pretty good. The one thing I would comment on is your left hand looks like it's a little bit spread out, a little bit too straight. So the one thing I would remind you to think of is holding a tennis ball or a ball in your hand to kind of keep that position in form. So just pretend you're grabbing a ball, and then just reset that hand position and put your fingers on the tone holes like so.
Okay.
Good. Okay, that looks good. The next thing we're going to talk about is the instrument carriage. So when we're talking about that, we want to consider having your arms off your upper torso. Your right thumb should provide just a little bit of pressure right here. And the bell should be in line with the knees. So you don't want to play up here like a jazz player, or way down here like a fifth grader. So just right in line with the knees like that. So let's kind of see what your position is.
Yes.
That looks good. We're just going to do a quick exercise to make sure we have the correct balance. So this might be a little dangerous, but we're going to try it anyways. So set your position for instrument carriage, and I just want you to take your left hand away. You can kind of keep your fingers there so it doesn't fall. But yeah, so notice when we apply that pressure with the right thumb, you don't really need the left hand to balance it.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the main thing you want to keep in mind for that. So breath support is the next thing. We need to breathe with our lungs, diaphragm, and our lower torso. So we don't want to just take a head breath or whatever you want to call that. We want to make sure we fill up from the very bottom. So one thing we're going to do is an exercise where we inhale for 4 and exhale for 4 and make sure that we fill up from the bottom. So I just want you to watch how I breathe. Okay, so let's just take a deep breath in for 4 and then exhale for 4 as well. So I'll count you off. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So it sounds like maybe you're not opening up quite as much as you need to. So one strategy you can use to make sure that you open up is saying the syllable help when you inhale. So that's the main thing you want to consider. So watch me do it once more. So I feel way more open when I play that, and that creates a way bigger tone on the clarinet and a way more open sound. So let's just do this together once more time, saying the syllable help when we inhale, and make sure we breathe out with a full air support. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. That felt better.
Yeah.
All right, the next thing we're going to talk about is the embouchure. So when we're setting our embouchure, we want to have our upper teeth on the mouthpiece a ½ inch from the tip. So right about here, like that. And want to have our bottom teeth covered by our bottom lip and 1 inch from the tip. So it should look something like that. The mouthpiece should be centered also, so we don't want to play off to the side or any other direction for that matter. And the lips should be firm And finally, the corner should be drawn in to the size of the mouthpiece. Yeah, so kind of like you're gritting. So let's just, I'm going to set my embouchure, and I kind of want you to model what I'm doing. So there's the top teeth, the bottom is 1 inch, covered with the lip. It's centered, my lips are firm, and I'm drawing the corners in. So let's see you do that. Okay, that looks pretty good. Your corners need to be drawn just a little bit more. So one thing we can do to sort of work on that is do the exercise of saying syllables we, to. So let's just set our embouchure the way you were doing it before. And now just say the syllables we, to with me. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We, to. So notice how when you did that, your corners kind of naturally drew in to, yeah. So just do it on your own once more.
Do you want me to say we too?
Yeah, just say we too.
We too.
Yeah, that looks a lot better. The corners are drawn in and looks like a pretty good clarinet embouchure to me. So finally we're going to get to the tonguing on the clarinet. And when you're tonguing, you want to tongue slightly below the tip of the tongue, right about there. And we're going to use the syllable T as opposed to another syllable like to, ta, or da. And we don't want to move our tongue in our mouth very much. Just keep it right underneath the reed, just stationary for the most part. So I'm just going to show you how tonguing should be done first. And I'm just playing an open G, so that's no fingers down. And I'm following those steps that I told you where I'm just tonguing slightly below the tip of the tongue and using the syllable T. So just try to produce a sound, open G. Yeah, you got a sound.
Okay.
That sounds good. But we can probably fix that. And we're just going to use the right, wrong, right technique. So the right syllable is T, a wrong one is the. So I'm going to tongue, say T, the, and then T. So I'll be doing the right way, the wrong way, then the right. So see if you can tell the difference. So the first and the third one, I produced a sound. The second one, it was really hard to create any sound at all because I was doing it the wrong way. So trying to focus on the embouchure. It maybe looked like your upper teeth were a little too far forward, so make sure we have that angle right and everything else we're considering when we do this. Let's do the same exercise, but this time we'll just say T syllable. We'll just re-articulate the note a bunch of times. So just remember when you're tonguing to make sure you have that good angle, because if you don't apply that upward pressure with your right thumb, a lot of times you won't have the correct angle and you won't have the mouthpiece as far into your mouth to make a good sound.